Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. Today, we're going to be looking at something that's, well, pretty fundamental to the web as we know it, HTML.
Yeah, it really is the basic building block of, pretty much every website that we visit.
Right. And we're going to be taking a look at this ebook called Guide to HTML Master Your Web Development. And this is just book one.
Oh,
So
HTML 101.
yeah, exactly, HTML 101. So by the end of this deep dive, I hope you'll have a better understanding, like a grasp of how these basic building blocks work.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting how we use the internet every day,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't often think about, what's going on underneath that code layer.
Right. It's all just kind of like there.
Yeah.
So the ebook starts off by telling us what HTML stands for.
Okay.
Hypertext Markup Language.
All right.
Okay, two big words right there.
Wow.
What exactly is hypertext?
So think about how you use the web, right? You're reading some text, and then all of a sudden, bam, you click a link, and you're on a totally different page, maybe even a different website altogether.
Yeah.
That's the hyper part of hypertext. It's text that's connected, creating this web of information.
So it's not just reading in a straight line, like a book.
Right.
It's jumping around
Yeah, exactly.
this interconnected network. Okay, so what about the markup part?
So that's where HTML comes in. It's the language that adds those links and instructions for how the text should be displayed, like headings, paragraphs, images, all
Okay.
that good stuff.
So it's both the structure and the roadmap of the web,
Yeah,
all rolled into one.
pretty much.
Okay, that's powerful. The ebook then goes on to walk us through this simple hello world example,
Right.
which it seems like this is like the classic way to start learning any kind of coding language.
Yeah, it's like the intro,
Yeah,
to
fine.
code.
To coding, yeah. So this example shows like the basic framework of an HTML document.
Right. And it kind of lays the foundation of your web page. It introduces tags like Type E, HTML, and head, title, and body,
Okay.
each with, a specific role to play.
Mhm.
And you'll see these tags in every single web page's source code. So the Type E HTML tag
Right.
tells the browser what version of HTML the page is using.
Okay.
The HTML tag acts as the container for everything else.
Mm.
And the head section is kind of like behind-the-scenes info about the page.
Gotcha.
And that includes the title tag, which is what you see, up in your browser tab.
Okay, so if I were to like right-click on a web page and select View Page Source, I'd basically be seeing all of these tags in action,
Exact.
like peeking under the hood.
Yeah, exactly. You'd see how the web page is structured, all the elements that make it up.
Yeah.
And speaking of elements, the ebook really emphasizes that HTML is all about these tags.
Okay.
They're like the Lego bricks of web development.
Oh, I like that analogy. So we're not just typing words, we're using these tags to like give them meaning and structure,
Yeah.
like the grammar of the web. The ebook mentions that these tags usually come in pairs, like an opening tag and a closing tag,
Right.
kind of like bookends for a section of content.
And the way that these tags are nested inside each other is super crucial for creating a well-structured web page.
Okay.
So imagine you have a set of boxes, and each one fits neatly inside the other.
Mm,
That's kind of how HTML tags work.
gotcha.
Like take the P tag, for instance. It's used to define a paragraph.
Mm,
The opening P tag marks the beginning, and the closing P tag marks the end.
okay.
And if you were to open one box and put another box inside it, that's like nesting the tags.
Okay.
And that inner box, or the content inside those tags, represents the paragraph on your web page.
So the placement of these tags matters a lot.
It does. It really does.
It's not just what you say, but how you structure it with these tags.
Exactly.
The grammar of the web. The ebook then goes on to tell us about, some of the ways that we can format text using different tags.
Right.
Like making it bold, italic, highlighted. It's like having a word processor built right into the code.
Exactly. And these simple formatting options, they're essential for emphasizing information, creating visual hierarchy, and making your content more engaging. So we can use the B tag for bold text, the I tag for italic text, and mark to highlight text, just like a real highlighter.
The ebook also mentions subscript and superscript,
Oh, yeah.
which I hadn't really thought about before.
Yeah.
That's how we get like the tiny numbers in chemical formulas or like math equations.
Right. They're not as common as bold or italic, but, they have their specific uses.
Yeah.
And it just shows the level of control that HTML provides over, like, the fine details of your text.
Yeah, it's amazing how much thought goes into these like seemingly simple elements.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the basic building blocks with these tags.
Right?
We can format text to make it look nice. What's next?
Well, before we jump into some of the other elements, let's talk about the importance of headings.
Headings, like in a document. Why are those so important in HTML?
So they play a crucial role in organizing your content, making it easier for both users and search engines to understand the structure of your web page.
Okay.
So think about how you scan a document or web page, right? You're naturally drawn to the headings to get like a quick overview
Yeah,
of the content.
makes sense. So headings are like the signposts of a web page,
Yes.
helping us navigate the content. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The ebook mentions that there are 6 levels of headings, from H1 all the way down to H6.
Exactly. And it's similar to like outlining a speech or an essay.
Okay.
So the H1 tag is like your main title, the most important heading on the page.
Right.
And then you have H2 for subheadings, H3 for subheadings, and so on. It creates like this hierarchical structure, like chapters and sections in a book.
Okay, and you're saying this hierarchy is important for search engines too,
Oh, absolutely.
not just us readers.
Yeah, search engines like Google use headings to understand the main topics and subtopics of a web page,
Okay.
which helps them, index and rank the page.
So using headings correctly is not just about making your content user-friendly.
Right.
It's also crucial for SEO,
Yes.
search engine
Heading
optimization.
too. Yeah.
So good headings make your content easier to find, which means more people will see it.
Exactly.
That's a good tip to remember.
Okay.
What else can we do to organize our content besides using headings?
Well, lists are another great way to present information clearly and in a structured manner.
Okay.
HTML provides 3 types of lists: unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists.
Okay, those sound familiar.
Yeah,
We use lists all the time in everyday life, right?
exactly. Like think about a grocery list. That's an example of an unordered list.
Yeah.
The items don't have to be in any particular order.
Right.
They're just a collection of things you need to buy. In HTML, you would use the alt tag for an unordered list, and each item in the list would be enclosed in li tags,
Okay.
which stands for list item.
So you'll for the whole list.
Yeah.
Leave for each item within the list.
Exactly.
Got it. What are those other types of lists?
So ordered lists are used when the sequence matters, like
Right.
steps in a recipe or driving directions.
Okay.
In HTML, you would use the alt tag for an ordered list, and again, each item goes within li tags.
Yeah.
And the browser will automatically number those items for you, so you don't even have to worry about it.
That's handy. And what about description lists?
Description lists. So they're perfect for defining terms or providing like short explanations,
Got it.
like in a glossary or a FAQ section.
Gotcha.
Imagine you have a website about, I don't know, different types of coffee beans.
Okay.
You could use a description list to define each type of bean and its characteristics. In HTML, you'd use the DL tag for the description list, DT tags for the terms you're defining, and DD tags for the descriptions.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see how all of these different elements work together
Yeah.
to create like all these different types of content.
Yeah.
On a web page, we've got headings, paragraphs, lists,
Right.
and of course, we can't forget images.
Images are essential for making web pages visually appealing and engaging.
Yeah.
In HTML, you use the MG tag to embed an image.
So if I wanted to add a picture of my cat to my web page, I would use the MG tag.
You got it.
What else do I need to know about this tag?
Well, the MG tag needs a couple of important attributes to work properly.
Oh.
And attributes are like these extra pieces of information that you add to a tag
Okay.
to modify its behavior or appearance.
Like adding sprinkles to a cupcake.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So for the MG tag, the 2 most important attributes are SRC and alt.
Okay.
The SRC attribute stands for source, and it tells the browser where to find the image file.
Okay.
So you put the URL or file path of the image in the quotes of the SRC attribute.
Okay, so the SRC attribute points to the image location.
Exactly.
What about the alt attribute?
So the alt attribute stands for alternative text.
Okay.
And this is super crucial for accessibility.
Gotcha.
It provides a text description of the image, which is used by screen readers for visually impaired users who can't see the image.
So the alt text helps people who can't see the image understand what's there.
Exactly.
That's really important. What if I forget to include alt text?
It's a common mistake, but it can have negative consequences.
Yeah.
It not only makes your website less accessible, but it can also affect your SEO.
Really?
Because search engines use alt text to understand the content of your images as well.
So good alt text is both user-friendly and search engine-friendly.
You got it.
Win-win. Speaking of organization, the ebook also mentions tables,
Okay.
which are like those grids that we see in spreadsheets and documents.
Right.
Are tables used a lot in HTML?
They're not as common as they used to be, but they still have their place, especially when you need to present data in a structured format.
Okay.
Like, think about a pricing table for different subscription plans
Mm-hmm.
on a website.
Yeah.
You'd use a table to display, like, the features and cost of each plan,
Yeah.
side by side.
Yeah. So tables are good for organizing data into rows and columns. I can see how that would be helpful for things like, I don't know, schedules
Yeah.
or product comparisons.
Exactly.
But tables seem a bit more complex
They are a bit more involved.
than some of the other elements we've talked about.
Yeah, but the basic concept is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
You use the table tag to create the table itself,
Okay.
then try tags for each row,
Mm-hmm.
and TEED tags for each cell within a row.
So it's like building a grid one row at a time,
Yeah.
and each cell holds a piece of data.
Mm-hmm.
The ebook mentioned some other things like col span and row span.
yeah.
What are those all about?
So those are attributes that allow you to merge cells together,
Oh.
either horizontally or vertically.
Okay.
So col span lets you span a cell across multiple columns,
Mm-hmm.
and row span lets you span a cell across multiple rows.
So you can create like more complex table structures,
Right, not just a simple grid.
not just a simple grid. Okay.
Exactly.
That's good to know. What's next on our HTML journey?
Let's talk about forms.
Okay.
They're one of the most important elements of interactive web pages.
Forms,
Yeah,
like those things that we fill out online all the time.
exactly. Forms are used to collect information from users,
Okay.
whether it's contact details, survey responses, or even login credentials.
Yeah.
They're essential for any website that needs to interact with users and gather data.
I never really thought about how those forms are created. It seems like there's so many different types of fields,
Right.
like text boxes, drop downs, radio buttons,
Yeah.
all those things. How does HTML handle all that?
So HTML provides a wide range of input types to accommodate all those different kinds of data.
Okay.
For example, you would use the input type text tag for like a simple text field.
Yeah.
Where users can enter their name or email address.
And what about those password fields where you can't see what you're typing?
So for that, you would use the input type password tag,
Okay.
and the browser will automatically mask those characters, for security purposes.
Smart.
Yeah.
What about those multiple choice options where you can only select one?
So those are called radio buttons, and you would use the input type radio tag
Okay.
for each option.
Uh-huh.
And they all share the same name attribute, so only one can be selected at a time.
This is getting quite technical.
It is. It's a little more technical.
I'm starting to appreciate how much goes into creating these, like, seemingly simple forms.
Right.
What else do we need to know about forms?
Well, every form needs a submit button, which is what the user clicks to send the data to the server. You'd use the input type submit tag for that.
So when I hit that submit button, all the data I entered in the form is sent off to the website.
Yeah, to the server.
Okay.
And that data is then processed by the server, which can do all sorts of things with it, like store it in a database, send an email,
Wow.
or generate a personalized response.
Yeah, it's amazing how all these elements work together to create this, like, interactive experience on the web. Okay, so we've covered headings, paragraphs, lists, images, tables, and forms.
Yeah, that's a lot.
What's left?
One of the most important elements of all.
The-
Links.
Links. You mean those things that take us to other pages?
Yes, links are what make the web a web. They're the connections that link all these pages together, creating that, vast network of information.
Links seem pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
You click on them, like you go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
What's so special about them from an HTML perspective?
Well, under the hood, links are created using the tag,
Oh,
which stands for anchor.
gotcha.
And this tag needs an href attribute, which stands for hypertext reference, and it tells the browser where to go when the link is clicked.
So the href attribute is like the address of the destination.
Exactly. It can be a full URL like https://www.example.com or a relative path to another page within the same website. So for example, if you have a page about cats and you want to link to a page about dogs, you might just use dogs.html as the href value if both pages are in the same folder.
Okay, that makes sense. So the href attribute tells the browser where to go.
Yes.
What other attributes are important for links?
One that's often used is the target attribute.
Okay.
And that controls where the linked page opens.
Okay.
So by default, you will open in the same window or tab replacing the current page, but you can use the value blank to open the link in a new tab or window,
Right.
which is often a better user experience,
Yeah.
especially if you don't want the user to lose their place.
Right. I always get annoyed when a link opens in the same window.
Yeah.
And I lose my place.
Exactly. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference.
So using target blank can help avoid that.
Yeah.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening.
Good.
I never realized how much thought and detail goes into creating even the simplest web pages.
It is. It's a lot.
It's like learning a whole new language.
It is a language, the language of the web. And like any language, it takes time and practice to master. But once you understand those basic elements and how they all work together, you can create some pretty amazing things.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. Headings, paragraphs, lists, images, tables, and forms.
We've covered a lot.
Are there any other important HTML elements that we should know about? I feel like we've built like a solid foundation.
You're right. We've covered the core elements, but let's touch on one more concept that can be really helpful. HTML entities.
HTML entities.
Yeah, these are special codes you can use to display characters that might otherwise cause problems in your code.
Okay.
Or that aren't available on your keyboard.
Gotcha. Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you want to include the greater than symbol in your text.
If you just typed it directly into your HTML, the browser might mistake it for the beginning of a tag.
Right, because we've learned that tags use those angle brackets.
Right.
So how do we get around that?
That's where HTML entities come in.
Okay.
So for the greater than symbol, you would use the entity NGAT.
Okay.
And the browser knows to replace that entity with the actual symbol when it displays the page.
So it's like a secret code for those tricky characters.
It
Are there other, like, commonly used entities?
Absolutely. One you'll see a lot is NNBSP, which creates a non-breaking space.
Okay.
And this is useful when you want to prevent two words from being separated by a line break.
Ah, so it forces those two words to stick together.
Right.
Even if it means, like, pushing them to the next line.
Exactly.
Totally, that's handy.
Another common one is in copy, which displays the copyright symbol.
Oh, okay.
And there are entities for tons of special characters, accents, and symbols.
This whole deep dive has really opened my eyes to this, like, hidden world of HTML.
It's amazing how much complexity goes into something that we use every day.
I know, it's crazy.
Without even thinking about it.
It really is.
It's like learning a whole new language. And this guide to HTML ebook that we've been using as our guide today has been so helpful.
Good.
In, explaining all these concepts. But you did say this is just book one.
It is, yeah.
Of a series, so I'm already curious to learn more.
That's the great thing about web development. There's always more to learn and explore. And HTML itself is constantly evolving.
Right.
New features, new capabilities are being added all the time.
Yeah. I'm curious now to peek at the source code of some of my favorite websites.
Yeah.
And see if I can recognize any of these elements.
You should, yeah.
I've been talking about. It's like having X-ray vision for the internet.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked a new interest in you and you'll decide to, learn more about web development yourself.
Yeah. I wouldn't rule it out. It's definitely empowering to know that anyone can learn this stuff.
Yeah.
And create their own little corner of the web.
Absolutely. The web was built on a foundation of openness and collaboration, and that spirit continues to drive its evolution.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling inspired, dive in, explore, and see what you can create.
Like a great note to end on. To all our listeners out there, we hope this deep dive into HTML has given you a new appreciation for this language that makes the web possible. We encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one building the next big thing on the web.
Maybe.
Until next time, happy coding.
Please remember to like and subscribe for more podcasts like this. See you on the next one.